exists. In the vast multiverse, there are events that cannot be avoided.
If what I saw is true, it's going to be hard to believe. Again.
The timelines are breaking down, and it's all your fault.
What is it that you really want?
I want to save my friends.
We're playing God.
We are gods.
They can no longer fix it. It's already late.
What could we have done differently?
We're in a lot of trouble. Our timeline is in chaos.
Loki Season 2, only on Disney+.
All right, guys. So we are back with another Loki episode breakdown, spoiler discussion, and we are going to actually go into theories, spoiler talk, and yeah, we're going to talk about it all. So, guys, we're going to actually start with our initial thoughts on the process. Ken, I'm going to actually have you start about just your overall first thoughts. We literally are fresh off of this. So I'm going to let you start and get Boomer outside. So one second.
All right. So my episode 4 thoughts so far, because I actually just finished watching the episode not 10 minutes ago. So there was a lot that happened in this episode. Then there's so much to talk about. Number one, we saw the ending of the episode where it seemed like the good guys lost, right? The entirety of the timelines have exploded and split apart. What that exactly means is something that I'm really curious to see in the next episode. And I know that we'll talk about predictions going forward, even though I know that like the last few times we've done streams together and talked about predictions, we don't really have any because we have no idea what the hell is going on.
Exactly.
Right. And that's kind of been the fun of this season so far, is that I don't know where they're going. And every episode is fun just watching it unravel without many theories involved. I know that part of the joy of this episode was watching Jonathan Majors perform. Again, having a huge role in this episode. I did not expect him to have this big of a role during this season. I thought, you saw Victor Timely in the trailers leading up to this series starting. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. He's going to be maybe in an episode, or be like in the last episode to discover him or something of that nature. But seeing him play a crucial part in this episode was really fun, really good to watch him perform against all these other people. Yeah, Miss Minutes is evil. I knew it. I called it.
Yep.
From episode 1, I was like, she did it. Whatever is happening, she did it. Right. And she just continues to creep me the hell out. That last thing that she said to Victor at the end, you'll never be him.
Right.
Girl. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. There's still a lot for me to process and think about.
Right.
But yeah, I would say that this season has been probably one of the best seasons of Marvel television so far.
For sure. So like even in the previous episodes, just from the start, not 100% sure what's going on. The TVA is in trouble. Morbius running around with Loki trying to stop him from, shifting out of time.
Right.
But that actually came full circle in this episode, to where I was like, because I remember, I think episode 2, I was asking the question like, well, he got pruned. And then I remember your response, Ken, was that this needed to happen so that he stopped shifting, right? So now it's like,
yeah,
spoiler discussion, by the way, if I didn't already say that, but yeah. So the fact that we got to see Victor Timely, who either is the one He Who Remains or becomes him, but it's like baby him because he doesn't even understand what he's seeing,
Right.
He's fresh out of his time. But but he's the only one that can save, so the last episode they were trying to get him. This is the reason why, to save the TVA. And
Right.
in this episode, all hell breaks loose, literally.
Quite literally. Yep.
I mean, it was good kind of see. So I would say my favorite part of this was seeing Ouroboros, OB, and him kind of interacting.
Yeah.
So it became like a chicken or the egg situation,
right?
Where it was like Timely got dropped off the TVA book that Ouroboros wrote, but he got all his stuff from He Who Remains.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So the time stuff. Luckily, I wasn't too confused about that because I was like, all right, they're one. Victor is obviously the older one.
Yeah.
So right.
Now, one of the interesting things about that, because you mentioned the snake eating its tail kind of thing with the Timely and OB. And then we also saw Loki was the one who pruned himself in episode 1. And I think there's like another thing that happened. And there's also like the question of the loop of, is Victor Timely He Who Remains? Is He Who Remains Victor Timely? Right. So I think like one of the themes I'm thinking about this now is there's a lot of loops going on. There's a lot of time loops happening just within this episode.
Yeah.
And when Loki comes off the elevator and says, it's all going to make sense, I think he was talking to the audience just as much as he was talking to Sylvie.
So I mean, one of the things is when we saw Ravonna and she is met by Miss Minutes.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, at the end of the last episode where they were like, where He Who Remains is. But she shows her a video of the past of where He Who Remains was talking to her. And then at the end of that conversation, we have Victor saying, wipe their memories, like wipe all their memories, right?
Yeah.
So that's where that kind of starts, right? So that even Ravonna doesn't remember who's actually pulling the strings.
Right.
He stays there. So that was pretty interesting. So we're getting a lot, I don't want to say origin stories, but we're getting a lot of reasons to why things were as they were in season 1.
Yeah. And I think I'm sorry. And I think one of the interesting things about that scene in particular was finding out that it was Ravonna who led the armies in the War of Kings. Right.
So
I'm really looking forward to finding out more about her character, because apparently she got a lot of skills and she got a lot of history that was erased from her mind that we're not privy to, that I'm really interested in hearing more about, because she sounds like a much bigger deal than we've been led to believe. Of course, it's all been like shrouded in what the hell's going on in this.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, she seems to be the one who was pulling the strings, of the person who was pulling the strings, or at least doing all the dirty work.
One question that I had was, what army was she controlling, or is that still left up to, they're going to show us later?
I think they're going to show us later, because I believe that it's part of that multiversal war situation that they talked about in season 1, and what they're trying to avoid doing that again. Once again, another idea of a loop. They don't want to do that again either.
Right.
So in the multiversal war, I'm not sure how I thought it would look, but it sounds like there's armies involved. It's not just a bunch of Kangs in a Royal Rumble, right? In a free-for-all. It sounds like they have raised up, I think that they raised up a bunch of the major players who we've seen throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or at least their universe's version of it. Whether you have your Iron Man from this universe and your Shang-Chi from this universe, and they're all those sound like the types of army, because you don't want just like a bunch of Shatari, right?
Right.
You would think that if you're trying to win a war against other universes, you will bring the most powerful people from those universes to fight that war. That's just a guess. I have no idea. But Secret Wars is kind of that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's what I was gonna. bro, that is a great educated guess.
Mhm.
I think that that could be it
Yeah.
because if you remember when Victor first got there, he was looking around like, oh, I want to look around, right?
Right.
He was in front of 3 reliefs, and on one of them, I noticed that it was all the Kangs fighting.
Yeah.
Then there was another relief. I forgot what the other 2 was, but that one stood out to me. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is what it looked like when they were all fighting each other for supremacy, basically.
Right.
So the fact that now, see, here's the thing: it's like, well, the Kangs were also they were fighting amongst themselves, right?
Mhm.
Right, but this army that was mentioned, had to be something else, and I think this is what we're gonna see in
Yeah.
either Kang Dynasty
Possible.
or
Very
Secret
possible.
Wars.
Yeah.
I highly I if I had a
And
last
even like
dollar.
it makes me think of like when in Ant-Man Quantumania when Kang said, "Yeah, have I killed you before?" Like that kind of thing. Like, are you Thor? Are
Mm,
you this one? Are you that one?
right,
Maybe he's
right,
just talking about Avengers who have tried to stop him in the past, so to speak.
right.
Or going by this, maybe he's talking about Ravonna leading a army of those variants against him, against his army, and then he's fighting them. I know we're theorizing to the nth degree right now,
Yeah,
but it seems like why else would he come across them other than either the Avengers trying to stop them, just based on some Avengers type stuff, or
right.
Ravonna leading an army against his armies, and he
Hmm.
had just so happened to kill that Thor and that Ant-Man and what have you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because if he's the only one, then whoever obviously they won. You know
Right.
what I mean? So he was fighting with them.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think. So, guys, there's a lot of things that happen here.
Hmm.
Now, my whole thing was with not X5.
Yeah.
So the scene where Ravonna comes back and pretty much goes to the prisoners who try to raise up against or destroy all the timelines
Hmm.
to get it back to how the TVA was.
Right.
She pretty much just kills them all. She
Yeah.
pretty much just does that, and I'm so glad they didn't show that. But you know what
Yeah.
I mean? That's
I
a
was
gruesome
kind of upset
scene.
that they didn't show it. Not that I want to see like,
Right.
but still, it's kind of like show the disgustingness of the thing so we can
Right.
really feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they couldn't do that. It would have been a rated R movie. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't do all of that. What is it? PG? What is it? TV MA or something? Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
whatever the ratings are now.
Mhm.
So, but if you looked, Miss Minutes' face when they were getting killed, she was excited to see
She
that.
was excited. Yo, she's
She
sadistic,
was
yo.
a little too excited to see multiple people die.
Yeah.
That was
Man,
concerning.
she is the problem. Like, obviously, there are bigger problems to her, probably, but her at her apex of her power, I don't even want to see it. Well, I do want to see it, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to see if I was in their situation because she just seems like she's probably one of the most powerful people on the timeline or in the universe. So man,
Mhm,
I would not mess with Miss Minutes. And thankfully they did the reboot because that seems to
mhm,
be the way to because essentially what you got to delete her.
exactly.
Essentially.
Like, she knows
Uh,
too much,
right.
and yeah,
Yeah.
and she controls everything, it seems.
She's very much
Like
like a multiversal Ultron or a multiversal
right,
like Jarvis or what have you. So
yeah.
yeah.
There's very little that she doesn't have access to. Like, I think she
Hmm.
has access to everything, you know?
Yep.
Um, I mean, I it so I'm s I know I asked this in the last stream,
Yeah.
but the whole scene from the previous episode 3 where
Hmm.
she was pretty lovey-dovey with Victor Timely, and
Yeah.
it seemed like she was kind of butthurt because he wasn't taking her advances.
Hmm.
I don't know where she stands now because
Yeah.
I'm like, she might be trying to screw Ravonna over,
Hmm.
knowing that they had a thing, her
Yeah.
and He Who Remains. But then my question would be, why either she has an agenda to destroy Ravonna and everything,
Yeah.
because I'm like, why would you just, if you're jealous of her or whatever, why would you help her? Why would you talk to her? Why would you show her these things, you know?
I think it's the rejection aspect. She was rejected by Victor Timely. I'm sure she spent a lot of time with He Who Remains, so she probably felt rejected by him for Ravonna. So it's kind of like the love stricken, kind of like an AI scorned, kind of thing where she's just going to go after the person who made her feel bad, and it doesn't really matter like who she has to team up with in order to get that accomplished. So I think she's willing to use any and every. I think that she would get to Victor or get to Kang or whoever, take her revenge or try to convince him to be with her, and then still get rid of Ravonna after she's done using her. Like I think she only told Ravonna that to spur her on to being the ruthless person that she seemed to have been beforehand. So yeah, I think that she's, like I said, she's pulling the strings in a lot of different ways, and yeah, I'm curious to see how it ends, how her character ends up at the end of this season.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we have a lot of comments from one of the movie tubers who couldn't join us tonight, guys. Movie Time Minutes was supposed to be on, but family first, guys, right?
Family
That's what we
first.
do over here. So he says, have a great stream, guys. You guys rule. He loves doing the the single comments out like that. He did that on Zach Maline's stream.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. So he has to go because he doesn't want to find out.
Makes sense.
Sorry you couldn't join
There's a lot
tonight.
to
No
find
worries,
out
man.
this
There's always
episode.
next week. No worries at all. But I think that another thing that I absolutely loved was seeing, I think I mentioned this, but seeing Ouroboros and Victor Timely kind of putting their heads together. That was just magic.
Yeah, that was good.
Because the way that they kind of take to each other, giving each other autographs and
That
all
was
the
so
rest,
fun.
that's pretty dope. But I did notice Sylvie the whole time, because when the scene happened, when they brought Victor in, and they were working together, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to see. Jonathan Majors, they're working together, right? But then her face was like, I don't trust this dude. it's like her whole face was like, do you remember who this is? Like, you know what I mean? But I think the situation at hand was more important than the past, right?
Yeah, I think she.
But that made me kind of turn a switch in my brain to be like, hold on now, he cannot be trusted. He should not be trusted.
Not at all. And I was feeling that way throughout the entire episode, partly because of Sylvie, because she kept questioning it, so it started making me question it as well. Of course, I question because it's a Kang variant,
right? Exactly.
But at the same time, this seems to be a guy who's before all of those, like that evil pathway that he would take, right? At the same time, she's like, y'all are trusting this? You guys are talking about eating pie or getting pie.
Right.
And there's universes that are dying, like real people. And I think I'm really enjoying the fact that the show is trying to emphasize to us that these are real people on the timeline who are being killed in their universes, right? Real whole billions upon billions of people. Now, what I wish that they would do to kind of make it more effective is to actually show these people being erased. Similar, it doesn't have to be like bloody or anything like that. I'm talking about similar to like the snap, when people just turn into ash, that kind of thing. You just see these people get erased and stuff like that. I think that it would be effective if we saw different versions of the same person. They don't even have to be like other superheroes, just being like systematically erased. But yeah, I was on Sylvie's side a lot of this episode in terms of just being trepidatious about how much we're going to trust Victor Timely. Keep an eye on him. You guys got him back there with Obi by himself, right? And then I would say, I don't know if you want to stay on Sylvie, but
we're going through all the thoughts on this one.
I would say at the end of the episode, I guessed that Victor would be the person to get into the suit to go
Really?
fix. Like I had the
That's very
thought in my head
specific.
that I had that thought in my head because I was like, okay, so the way the episode is shaping up, the person who would go to do it would probably be Victor because he would want to go with his invention to go solve the issue because he was the person who was smart enough to do it. Now,
Right.
Loki going in the suit would have made sense as well because he was quick. He got his magic back, which was something I questioned earlier in the episode. I'm glad that they cleared it up because I had forgotten that there were magic dampeners in the TVA. So when they got stuck in the elevator, I was like, I'm sorry, this is Loki. How is he stuck in? But then they reminded me.
Right.
So as soon as he puts on that suit, I'm like, I didn't expect him to like get stringified. I expected him to go to the end,
Yep.
plug it in,
I thought it was going to
hop
work.
off to another universe,
Oh, okay.
right? And then become he who remains somewhere else in the timeline, and for it to immediately like change things, right? But that's not what happened. And interestingly enough, that might be either he's dead or he did get sucked into a different timeline and become he who remains, right? Because those are really the only two options. Or he got pushed through time somewhere else or something of that nature. But it seems like it's one of the two. Either he's dead or he got pushed to another timeline where he cultivates his he who remainedness throughout the rest of the series. But
Right.
I don't know. I just didn't trust him as soon as he said, I'm going to put on the suit. Yeah.
I mean, I totally get the theory of it's his invention. He knows how to use it the best. So why wouldn't he go?
Right.
Because if you got to keep in mind that the TVA wasn't invented until he won whatever the Kang War was.
Right.
So that was all after. So even with that short clip that we saw of Ravonna talking with He Who Remains, that happened directly after whatever battle they fought in.
Yeah.
So even if like the your theory of jumping to another, that could have possibly happened at one point.
Right.
But then some time would have passed then before he returns, you know. I totally, you know, I see that. So, you know, I think the theme of this episode was just death.
Okay.
Like trying to fix and people just dying.
Yeah.
So what we saw towards the end was just everyone, and it seemed like literally an apocalyptic event.
Yeah.
We have well, first off, we have the defectors, the TVA defectors, I would call them, just getting squeezed in that box, you know?
That's horrifying.
That's scary as hell,
Yeah.
right?
And then they did slowly too.
Right. But now because they didn't want to go with Ravonna, but here's the thing. Why wouldn't they want to go with Ravonna? Because she was trying to set everything straight, and which is literally what they were doing. They bombed all these timelines last episode, but then when they see the leader or whatever, I don't get that, you know?
Yeah, I know that it was explained in the episode. I just can't remember.
Right.
I think it was more so they had to talk with B-15. She told them, hey, look, they're coming. They're on their way. They're going to try to like take over the TVA and do all these other things. But I think what kind of solidified it for them, I think one of the defectors asked, what would you do if we said no? Right. And then they saw the look on her face and they're like, oh, so you're not this benevolent or you're not this person who wants to save people or cares about people. You want your way or no one else's way. And then she proceeded to kill them. Yes. So they were justified in their distrust of her. And then you have actor guy who's I can't remember his name.
Oh, X5.
X5, yeah, X5, who, man, you talk about survivalist, someone who's like, look, man, Y'all got what y'all got going over. And it's not like he didn't feel bad about it. He just
Right.
couldn't bring himself to get killed alongside these other people.
Right.
Because he saw the writing on the wall. He's smart as hell.
Right.
But he just made a different choice. Yeah, I just don't think that they trusted her.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Wow. So even when they were in the interrogation room after they got Victor,
Mm-hmm.
they were like kind of interrogating him. I don't know what they were trying to get out of him, but either way, then we see Ravonna getting pruned.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how this pruning works.
Yeah.
Because even I'll bring it to the end towards when we saw Loki get pruned.
Yeah. I think it works
Because that brought it full
dumped
circle
on that planet thing.
Hmm?
I think it works the same way. I think they're just being dumped on that planet thing at the end of time. Remember from the first season? Yeah, so the
right. With all
body all
the other
being sent
Lokis.
there. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Probably.
Mhm.
That's actually okay. I can see that
Yeah.
actually. But then who's the Loki that pruned himself? Like who's that Loki?
I think they're the same person.
Okay, from
Same
just different
person,
times.
just
What? Right.
looping. Yeah, what we were talking about earlier about
Yeah.
the themes of like things just looping around.
Mm. Okay. So the end was. It seemed like the end of everything.
Yeah.
Victor hopped in the suit, and almost immediately when he walks out there, he gets spaghetti stringed.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, I don't know how you survive something like that because that's not even pruning. That's different,
Yeah.
And then you see all the timelines pretty much just explode and then start to come towards them. And if I could be a fly on the wall, I could probably read their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Probably praying,
Yeah.
this is it. This is the end.
Yep.
And then the episode just kind of turns off like that. Wow.
Yeah. That was a really interesting choice. Where it just go dark for a while because I thought it was going to come back to something.
Same.
But then it just went to credits.
Then the credits.
Mhm.
I'm thinking that I don't even know because now I'm like, well, how? What I'm thinking is that everything's going to be reset so everyone survives this somehow.
Mhm.
But then I'm like, well, how do you reset the TVA? Because that's literally like outside of time. I'm just like, okay, so many questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the I was really cheering the choice of them rebooting Miss Minutes
Mhm.
because she's a snake, man, and she'll
Yeah.
say whatever, do whatever and say whatever to whoever
Yeah.
to get her agenda met. And I don't think we fully understand what that agenda is just yet.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot. There's a lot going on
Mhm.
now. Let's see here. I'm going to kind of switch over to theories. Now, this is hard. Did
Yeah.
you have any more thoughts about the episode, or is it?
No. Trying to think through my. Oh yeah, you mentioned like what they were trying to interrogate Victor about. I think they were trying to get understanding of what was going on with what was happening outside with the timelines intertwining and seeming like they were breaking because they asked him to explain what was happening. He just wouldn't explain it. Other than that, I'm trying to think of any other like key moments in the episode
Right.
but I think we covered most of
Yeah.
everything that took place. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some theories.
Sure.
Maybe for the next episode. Okay. So my theory is that miraculously, I believe the episode even will start by coming back online. Like
Mhm.
how it did the TV thing going off. I think it's going to start by it coming back in.
Mhm.
And I think they'll come back. It's funny because we just saw everything get destroyed.
Yeah.
So even the theory of me saying that I think everyone's back, now I'm like, how?
Right.
But I think maybe there's a jump to a different timeline or something,
Hmm.
or something, and because remember, even in or at the end of season 1, Loki comes back through the door, and then we see Kang's face all over everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, quite possibly they could be in a different timeline or something
Hmm.
like that. I have a feeling that Miss Minutes, if she returns good and
Yeah.
then starts helping. I think she returns good. I have
Mhm.
so even when she got like decommissioned, I think that resets her. Either
Mhm.
it resets her and then she doesn't remember anything and then she
Yeah.
starts afresh. That's the good Miss Minutes. She's trying to help now. But if she comes back, then she's gonna raise hell.
Mhm.
Because she's gonna be like, well, XYZ, turned me off. Now I'm gonna go after you, and yeah, everyone's coming for you.
Yeah.
Um, but honestly, I think what we're seeing, and I hope it is, the start of what we might get in a movie.
Mhm.
Kang War, that anything like that. I think this is the start of that, and it's just I just need to see what happens. So there's only 2 episodes left.
Yep.
Okay, okay. I think this is going to be the 2 most exciting episodes we're going to get because there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered.
Mhm.
And they're trying to tie this in with the MCU movies,
Right.
Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty,
Mhm.
all of that. So I think we're actually going to get that
Yeah.
a little clearer. We might
Mhm.
actually see more Kang variants, and I'll say that for episode 6, we might see more of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is hard. This is always hard when we're talking
Mhm.
about
Especially
the
this show.
show. This show is very good at actually like hiding things from us and
Mhm.
and not exposing everything. Our best guess is just that, just our best guess, and we can't really discern what's happening in the future.
Yeah.
But give it your shot, Ken. Yeah.
So what I think happens next episode is that everyone who is a main character in the show is being placed on a different timeline in a different universe. I think that we finally see Mobius on his jet ski. I think we see Sylvie happy at McDonald's. I think we see Thor. I think we see Loki reunited with Thor. I think we see, or if Sylvie's not back at McDonald's, I think she's back in her version of Asgard. I think that
Mm,
there's a lot of things that can happen in terms of. I'm sorry. I think there's a lot of things that can happen in terms of just placing these people back in different situations that they actually want to be in. Because one of the themes of this episode was Sylvie asking Mobius, "Why have you not checked on who you were back on your timeline or back on the timeline?
right.
You haven't looked because you're content with being this person here." Like, so I think that this next episode is a kind of like a slow down reflection episode, or not maybe not even like reflection, but just something to really bring to full circle the fact that these people are variants from actual universes. And I think that something happens to wake them up and bring them
Mhm.
all back to this moment. I think that we get a situation where the end of this episode is reset and then we play it again at the end of next episode. One of the things that gives me hope for this show, which I'm already really enjoying, is the fact that these episodes are like an hour long. They're not cheating us with like 30-minute episodes
Right.
in a 6-episode series. They are
Right.
really, this is the most TV show of all the TV shows of Marvel. So yeah, I think that that's probably what happens, and I also think that we do get to see Kang, or I'm sorry, Victor Timely reassembled somewhere and
Mm,
possibly meeting other kings,
mm,
and the Council of Kings,
right.
I don't know, recruiting him or something like that.
Right.
And that's
Right.
the beauty of this season. I have literally no idea what's going to happen next. So I'm excited to see what does happen next.
Right.
Even if it doesn't meet my theories or my expectations, I think that it's going to be a good ride because it's been a good ride so far.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, man. And it's like I keep forgetting about the Kangs and all of them because at the end of Quantumania, I don't truly think that we still know what they're going to be doing,
Right. We have no idea.
which is great,
Yeah.
but I I think the events of this show is one of those things where the stakes are high. Like
Mhm.
they're literally, the timeline is going out of whack. The thing that they need to control is going out of whack. Now, I think that the Kang variants, especially in that arena, they don't want just one timeline because doesn't that take them out?
Yeah.
That
I
was the
think
whole
they all
point.
still want their own universe, and I think they all want to rule their individual universes.
Universes. Yep. So the TVA kind of going down is the best thing for them. I wouldn't be
Correct.
surprised if we actually do see another variant,
Hmm.
another Kang pulling the
I
strings or
would
doing
not be
something
surprised if we
crazy.
see another one. Yeah.
Right. So, all right, we're gonna get to some of the comments. We actually have Mama Minutes joining us.
Hey, what's up, Mama
Always good
Minutes?
to see Mama Minutes. DJ's gonna think I tuned in because he's gone. I hope. I love that little tit for tat they got going on. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great. Mama Minute says, I'm lost, but wanted to give you some views. We appreciate it. Definitely, Mama. Um, always holding us down, always holding the movie tubers down,
Yeah,
guys.
we definitely appreciate
Um,
you.
for sure, for sure. Okay, so we pretty much wrapped up everything that we're talking about for
Hmm.
episode 4.
Yep.
And I just can't wait for the other episode. I need this
I'm
whole
so
thing to kind
excited.
of conclude. I need to see the whole, have the whole story there.
Yeah.
But I will say that it's been good meeting the new characters. Like Ouroboros and everyone else. I don't think that it was too much
Right.
because you have such a big ensemble cast that it could get very confusing really quick. But
Hmm.
each person has their purpose, and everyone's doing what they need to do for the situation, which is pretty
Yeah.
much saving the TVA. And the fact that we even got um, a Kang variant by Victor Timely in this, and Jonathan Majors being able to kind of spread his acting chops and show us what he has,
Hmm.
it's just great. I just love the fact that he's back in it, although not in the role that we know have seen him first,
Right.
but he is almost like a beginning of that. So
Yeah.
it's like we're getting everything here, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's been a really good season, man.
so yeah. So one thing that I actually wanted to kind of before we end the stream is talk about Jonathan Majors
Hmm.
because he had some recent happenings, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts, Ken, on the
Sure.
whole situation.
Yeah.
So we're gonna play judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
Obviously, they
Mhm.
always say you shouldn't, when things are at trial, you gotta let it run its course, which I totally agree with.
Same.
But for the people, we're gonna talk about what we think, and hopefully we don't get canceled.
Yeah.
But here we go. We're gonna go into Jonathan Majors and the Jabari. His accuser has been arrested for misdemeanor assault and criminal mischief. DA has no plans to press charges. So apparently this actually happened in Manhattan, if I was reading
Hmm.
this right. The same city that even Jonathan Majors got arrested and all of this happening.
Yeah.
So the fact that this is even happening, do you think this is good for Majors or complicates things for the trial? I actually never asked you about the trial and everything, so I'm real
Hmm.
curious about your thoughts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I have a couple of thoughts about it. One, I think that it is good for his defense because it shows that she has a history of erratic behavior, even clearly very recently, in which she has been violent towards other people, and stuff like that. So I think that that's a good thing for his defense, right?
Right.
It helps shape her character in front of a jury. The jury is going to be asked to not consider the things that are outside of what's being presented in the case. However, we all know that the jury are human beings and they see everything that we see. So with that being said, there's two parts of it. One is I think that is good for his defense, like I said. And two, honestly, I don't know. A good lawyer would say that her having misbehavior does not mean that he didn't have misbehavior himself before.
Right.
The two are literally have nothing to do with each other other than character shaping, right?
Yeah.
So I don't believe I don't know what to believe at this point, but
Right.
he allegedly assaulting her has nothing to do with her assaulting someone months later. They're apples and oranges in that sense. And
Exactly.
a good lawyer would bring that up, that, hey, just because this has happened this week or this month has nothing to do with what he's being accused of. Two things can be true is essentially what I'm saying. However, it just seems the more comes out. I even read that, I believe it was a Variety or Deadline article.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think it was like a New York Times article with his lawyer laying out all the things that had happened on that night, and it just seemed really convincing that she was lying. So
Yep.
I am kind of leaning on the Jonathan Majors' innocent side, but like you said at the beginning, I'm waiting until it all clears up. But I'm kind of like, it kind of seems like
Right.
So
I mean,
yeah.
so we're getting so much because there's video
Mhm.
out there, and I learned that even scientists, when you're talking about like eyewitness testimony, it's
Mhm.
like the lowest bar for scientists even,
Right.
because humans are flawed. XYZ. My glasses weren't clean that day.
Right.
Have cataracts, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But the video evidence that we're seeing,
Yep.
so a couple, namely, was
Her using
when
her finger.
doing her hair in a bun
Yep.
after she's supposed to be battered,
Yeah.
abused,
Doing her hair in a bun.
and not only that,
Using her hand frequently.
there's video of her going back into the club,
Mm-hmm.
fiddling with the DJ for a request or something,
Yeah.
and then dancing using that right hand that she said was hurting her, or that Jonathan Majors allegedly. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah. And then there
Yeah.
seem to be like no markings on that hand either. So I want to make a distinction though. So one
Allegedly. For
alleged,
whatever I
right.
said. Yes.
All of it is alleged. I do want to make a distinction though. So while I think the focus should definitely be on like the hand of it all. Because I know that some people have brought up, well, why would she go to a club after going through a traumatic experience like that? Or why would she be talking to a DJ after blah, blah, blah? Well, I don't think that that is a good thought process in terms of how we determine innocence versus guilt, because the way people respond to trauma is different person to person. Someone will be
I'm glad you said
assaulted
that.
and then go out and hang out with their friends at the club
Right.
and stuff like that because they are out of that situation.
Trying to
They
get their
just wanna-
mind off of
They,
it.
they just want to be away, right?
Mhm.
So if the club is your natural habitat, so to speak, you might just go to the club, right? However, that's why I'm saying it's not about the club. It's all
Yeah.
about the use of her hand in that
Yes.
situation. And by what we're seeing with her hand, that thing don't look broken at all. She looks like she's
Right.
fully capable of using it. And yeah, it just seems the more and more physical evidence that we're seeing of her being able to perform whatever duty she's trying or whatever activity she's trying to do, the less likely it was that she was not that she was assaulted, but that the specific things that she mentioned were issues for her physically
Yeah.
and health wise don't seem to be checking out. So that's yeah. That's
Yeah,
my
and
question.
it's almost like a double-edged sword, because the only reason why we're talking about this right now
Mhm,
is because of Jonathan Majors as Kang
mhm.
is one of the best villains we've seen in the MCU,
Right.
damn near since Thanos, I want to
Yeah.
say.
It
You know
hasn't
what I
been
mean?
that long since Thanos. Yeah.
Just
So
yeah,
yeah.
just his acting as
Mhm,
different people. Come on,
yeah.
that's talent.
Yeah.
But that aside,
Mhm.
if it comes out that he truly did these things,
Gotta cut
and
him out. Gotta get him out of there
that's what it is.
ASAP.
But I praise Disney, Marvel, Feige, whoever's in charge of this thing,
Mhm.
for taking pause,
Yeah.
waiting for this to actually play itself out,
Right.
rather than do a Johnny Depp, which they learned from Johnny Depp.
Mhm.
Because if you remember, guys, Johnny Depp, as soon as the what was it, Amber Heard, right?
Yep.
I'm forgetting her name. She's
Yeah.
already slipping out of my mind. I don't even know.
Mhm.
But they cut ties with him so quickly before any trial, before anything. They said, "Oh, bad news. Boom, boom. We don't want to be associated with that, whether
Right.
you're right or wrong." And that was the wrong call.
Yeah.
And
I
now
saw
they're
the other day that Johnny
they're
Depp
licking
said
their
that.
wounds because
Yeah.
Johnny's up now, right?
Yeah. I saw the other day that Johnny Depp said he would work with them if he got a public apology from Disney. That's
Mm.
not happening. A
You don't think so?
company
So,
like that, they have way
Ken,
too much pride. They're trying to save face. There's no way that they're going to give him a public
or
apology.
or even if you know that there's going to be a $1 billion Pirates movie,
They would
you
try to
don't think they're going to
find
bend down?
they would try to find their $1 billion somewhere else because once you I think it's
I
precedent.
think they would.
Once you do that, any other issue that you have with an
Oh, I
actor,
see.
you're going to
But I
be
mean,
under the
there's
barrel
ways.
of
Yeah,
we screwed this actor over. We better apologize publicly before we can work with him again. If Johnny Depp succeeds in getting that apology, there's going to be a lot more apologies to be requested, and I don't think companies want to put themselves in that position. Are they right for doing that? No. If you screwed somebody over, you should definitely apologize to them. But just from a business standpoint, I just don't see it happening.
right. Let me see. Oh, we getting some comments in here.
Mhm.
But what I wanted to say is that I think if I know anything about, like, which I don't,
Mhm.
executives and all these, the only thing they care about is the almighty dollar.
Right.
That's why I'm like, they would totally do. And here's the thing, Ken, they got PR, they got
Mhm.
all these people. They can issue an apology, but make it sound a different way.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to put themselves on Front Street and say,
Mhm.
we were wrong, he was right, we're sorry. They're not going to say it like that, right?
Yeah.
But they were like, after looking over with the team, we've decided, or we've come to think that it was a little hasty. What they're going to use the dictionary words to get out of
Yeah.
this, right?
I think the problem
So,
is that because Johnny specifically is putting that task on them, that if you want to work with me again, I need a public apology. The PR spin ain't going to work from him. He wants to hear the words, right? So because he wants to hear the words, I don't think the little PR spin that they will put out that's for the public. Johnny
right.
wants an apology for him. Yeah,
Yes. Right.
I don't see that happening for the way that Johnny Depp wants that apology to be played out. Because
I see.
yeah, Johnny Depp is an accomplished actor. He's been in the business for many years. Truth be told, there's 40. I just made that up. Truth be told, there's a bunch of other movie studios that he can work with who would
Right.
be willing to work with him. Disney
Right.
is just one of them. I know
Mm.
that they own. Excuse me. I know that they own themselves a bunch of studios but you still got Warner Brothers, you still got A24, you still got Blumhouse and Orion
you
and all
imagine
these other,
Johnny
which
Depp?
I think Orion's under Disney, but and all these other studios, Paramount, all these other places that are not Disney controlled, they'll be more than willing to hire Johnny Depp because they weren't the ones that screwed him over in that sense, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think that the PR apology is going to work for Johnny Depp, and because he's the one who's requesting it, he's not going to accept that.
Yeah. Well, one thing's for sure. I'm just happy that trial went his way.
Yeah.
I'm so
I mean,
because I don't use the word for actors, but I love Johnny. Like, it's like when you have a connection with someone from childhood, growing up and just watching what they're doing and enjoying what they're doing, you want good things to happen to them, right?
Yeah,
You
sure.
don't want to see them go through this. That trial was something. I was on it. I was actually, and I'm gonna shout out the channel because they just do good journalism work and good opinions. It was Popcorn Planet.
Okay.
So they were covering that Johnny Depp trial a lot. So
Yeah.
I know that when this trial starts, that they're going to be on it and I will be watching. So, but yeah. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts on all of this. Everything that we've seen, rumor or not, alleged or not, it seems to be going in Jonathan Major's favor. And the only reason why we're talking about this is because he has such a big role in the MCU, which I love. And if this goes south for him, there's going to be a lot of shifting around. And I think if this goes south, we could be getting another phase 4. And I mean that because they're not going to know what to do at that point.
Yeah. I think it's
either-
easier to
yeah.
replace an actor than we might think.
Yeah,
Sure,
oh,
he's super talented, but he's not the only talented brother in town.
That's
There
true.
are other people who are talented. They found Iman Vellani in Canada with no role. So it's not like they can't just find another person to play. Like even I mean, he already played the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Right.
But Chukwudi, I've never heard of him before. Right? Before
Never heard
seeing
of
him
him?
in Peacemaker. Yeah, before seeing him in Peacemaker, I
I
had
see.
never heard of the gentleman before, and then seeing him in Guardians 3. And it just goes to show there are plenty of talented brothers and plenty of talented people out there that can take on these roles. Chris Hemsworth was his only role that I know of was playing Captain Kirk's dad in the Star Trek movie that was the rebooted franchise. He died in the first 10 minutes, and the next thing you know, he's Thor. I had never heard of Tom Hiddleston before his role as Loki. So I'm not saying that they didn't have roles before that. I'm saying I had never heard of these people. And for the most part, even Chris Evans he's been in a bunch of stuff before the MCU for sure, even another Marvel franchise, but he wasn't necessarily a household name. He was, it's that guy from that thing. And then he's Captain America. Now he is who he is.
Exactly.
Robert Downey Jr. is a different story because he was already an A-list actor who just happened to fall from grace under his own doing.
But again, I said this before, perfect casting for Iron Man.
Yeah, perfect casting.
Literally mirrored the character and the real life guy, literally twins. Like what?
Yeah.
He's literally going through everything that the comic book character is going through. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can go down the list of Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, all these other people who I think probably the most accomplished actor in the MCU is probably I was going to say the gentleman who played. I was going to say Andy Serkis, but then you got to remember that Anthony Hopkins was in the MCU. So I don't think you can get better in terms of accomplished than Anthony Hopkins. But the point being, most of the people who are in the MCU, even Jeremy Renner to an extent, he was in a bunch of stuff, but he wasn't necessarily like that guy. You know what I mean? But so I think that the MCU has the ability to elevate someone's profile. And because of that, they're able to find talent and stuff like that. I mean,
For sure.
the one person who didn't need them at all,
Mhm.
other than Robert Downey Jr. Well, I think he did need them actually because he was trying
At
to
that point of his,
come back,
yeah,
was Chadwick Boseman. He did not need Marvel. He
Mhm.
was fine. He was like, I'll
he
play him.
was
You
killing
know what I
all
mean?
the
Mahershala Ali. I'm a 2-time Academy Award winner. I'll play
Right.
your Blade role. Like, so,
right.
other than that, who's Okoye before?
But I mean,
he was in
Walking Dead.
Can't
Walking
say
Dead.
that. But yeah.
She got that was her lifting pad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
then you
I
got
will say
Letitia
this:
Wright,
if
and
we're if we're talking about, let's say it goes south and they recast,
yeah,
do you know how many people will be upset because of Chadwick and Black Panther? Because there was a whole movement
I
started
think
by
that's
E-Man
different
Reviews
because
talking about
he died.
Oh, yes,
You know what I
that is
mean?
different.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
different.
If
I'm
it was
laughing.
like I just
Yeah,
don't want to play
that
this
is-
role
that is
anymore, and they
different.
were like, we don't want to recast the role, that's a different story. But he literally passed away. So
But I know they're
Jonathan
gonna bring
Majors
it up.
having some indiscretion is like, get him out of here. But we still going to use King because he's one of the most important characters in our comic book lore, and we can't start a multiverse saga and then not finish it. That would be wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I stand by what I said about if this goes south and they
Mhm.
have to, it's not gonna be good.
Yeah. Oh
It's
no,
not.
yeah, it's going to be tough sledding. It's tough sledding right now with everything that's going on. I don't know how you feel about the Marvels that's coming out. I think it has the potential to be a really good movie. I know that
Oh.
people are talking about, oh, it's the shortest movie in the MCU. I can't tell you how stupid that conversation is. And in my mind, it's like, oh, you heard Captain Marvel's the shortest movie. Something
Yeah,
before Captain
I haven't
Marvel was
heard-
the shortest. Something
Yeah.
else is going to be the longest. It makes no bearing.
The more
on
movies they come
on
out
whether or
with,
not
that
the movie's going to be good.
right, exactly. That
What are
doesn't
you
make any
talking
sense.
about? Oh,
I mean, so I actually
it doesn't have
I
the
haven't heard
opening
that.
credits.
I
It's like,
don't.
yeah,
Sorry to cut you off. I don't even care if it's short.
yeah.
If I'm being
Is it
quite
good?
honest with you, it's the characters for me.
Right.
I have very low expectations for the Marvels.
Yeah,
Captain Marvel, Brie Larson was too stoic in her movie.
I
Then
don't
we
know.
got Miss Marvel.
I have thoughts about that.
She was come on, man.
She was told to be emotionless. Her character was literally said to her character as one of the people who were a part of that clan, which name I cannot remember right now. We're told that
Mhm.
they were not allowed to have emotions. So
Oh,
if her
the
clan was
Kree,
told that
right?
they were not
Like the
allowed to have
Kree?
emotions, then expecting an emotional performance from one of those people doesn't make any sense. That's why throughout the rest of the movie, her emotionness grows over time. She starts yelling when she's fighting at the end. That was never a part of the makeup of it because they were told from the conscience or whatever, the super conscience,
Right.
whatever it was called,
Mhm.
that you can't have emotions, you can't lash out. And part of that was because they were trying to keep her powers at bay because they knew that she had powers, but they were inhibiting her powers on purpose to keep her from destroying them. So the whole thing about her being emotionless during the course of the movie is part of the story. It's not a acting choice that she made her on her own. She was told by the script to not have any emotion. Now, did I love that movie? No, but I also can't sit here and say, "Oh, she was emotionless." She was told to be. It's the same thing with Sabine. Oh, Sabine's so annoying. Well, who's telling her to do these things?
Right.
It's in the script. The actress
but-
is doing her job.
But,
There's
but,
nothing.
but Ken,
Yeah, I mean, like
Ken,
there's nothing she can do other than her job and what she's being told.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is that at some point in the movie, like the character was told not to. Because they were trying to inhibit her.
From the beginning, from opening tap, you're not allowed to have emotion. That was the whole point of that clan that she was in. That was a whole kind of like modus operandi. They're not allowed to have emotion. You need to keep it in check or you're going to be punished. This was all part of the opening scenes of the movie. So when she doesn't or can't show emotion or is super stoic, that is part of the culture that they were trying to raise her into, because if she did show enough emotion, if she did feel I don't know, inspired or angry or whatever, her powers could activate. And as we saw, if her powers manifest, she's the most powerful person in the MCU. So that is kind of the point of that movie, is having her go from being held back to allowing her to release and be herself over the course of the rest of the movie. Like I said, did I love that movie? No.
I'm gonna watch that movie
is
again.
the story of the movie.
Right. I'm gonna watch that movie again, but if I'm completely honest, even not in her movie, even when she's in Endgame, when she's in whatever else she was MCU wise, right? Same.
Yeah.
Same.
She's a little different in each iteration of herself.
I can't
as she goes.
And then we have Miss Minutes, which clearly wasn't for us, Ken. If
Miss
you enjoyed
Minutes?
it, I
What do you
love
mean?
Miss Minutes. Oh,
From
Miss
Loki?
Marvel.
Miss Marvel.
I'm sorry. There's too many misses.
Yeah.
Too many. But
I
no,
love Miss Marvel.
Miss
Miss Marvel was
Marvel.
great.
Miss Marvel. So I will say this about it. The visuals were great.
Yeah.
Like because especially in the first couple of episodes when they had the titles and stuff as she's walking down the street, like in the neon lights and the sky and the moon. That was perfect. I love that. But the story. Okay, so the story was to me very generic.
Sure.
And
in some ways,
I think the history of like India and the partition and all of that, great. The family was the standout for me in that show, seeing how they interact with her. But then we're talking about, but as a whole, for me personally, it was very generic. Like it could have been anyone. And I know I've said this to a few people a couple of times. Come on. So
I mean,
you think about
honestly,
like WandaVision,
teenager
Loki,
gets
if you think about
powers
all
and
the
has to
shows,
navigate high school is tale as old as time. That's why I don't feel any differently about Blue Beetle. I mean, we're talking about all the teenage archetypes, all the teenage superheroes get their powers, have to navigate high school and their family, get their homework done, figure out how to graduate. It's literally all the same. Unless you're taking a teenager off Earth and putting him into some kind of space situation, they're going to school, they're dealing with their family, and they're dealing with like other people in their neighborhood. The only people who get to just go do stuff is literally adults, because that's literally just how it works. If I got powers as a teenager, I still got to report to my mom. Like it's not changing. Like I just got to sneak around and do the superhero stuff. So superhero
I like
teenager stories are limited to those parameters because that's the way society works. They can't not do the school thing, right? Unless you're doing like a summer story, like when it's out of school, which would be a good change. Let's do the summer vacation story where they are traveling, right? But and they did that with No Way Home, not No Way Home, Far From Home. Yeah. So, and even that, got to report to school. You're with your classmates. You
maybe
know,
I'm just old.
Powers, that's what you got.
Maybe I'm just old, but I've seen that trope a lot, and I was kind of disappointed that I saw it again.
Yeah, I mean it's nearly impossible to escape.
I mean, and also I haven't read the comics, so the comics are these things probably happen in the comics.
Yeah, definitely.
So because I felt like it, but that whole thing is what didn't make it special. Because it's the same child going to school. It could have been anyone. It could have been an Irish man, girl, whoever.
No, it couldn't have.
What you mean?
Mm-mm.
Now,
the culture that they were exploring makes it unique. We have to stop thinking that just because someone's a teenager in America, that their culture doesn't play a significant role in the way that they operate. But everything that she did was surrounded by the culture. Even Hulkaboo, when he dresses up, he was going out on a limb because that is not their culture to do that. So all those things that she had to navigate in terms of her culture and different stuff like that. I can't say that it's cookie cutter because black people are not just dark-skinned white people, right? They're not. We're not the same, and that's okay.
But that's my point. That's my point. It could have been anyone. It could have been. It could have been Asian,
Sure,
and they could have talked about
but it
that.
would have been
You know what I
different
mean?
because it would have been a different culture. The way Asian people do
True.
things and the way that people of her culture do things are completely different, or maybe there are some similarities, but even in the similarities, there are differences. So I can't say that we can just paint Miss Marvel with a white brush and say that it's the same. I think that that's dangerous, to be
I
honest
feel
with
like
you.
I feel like you could have taken that story,
Mhm.
give it to any other culture, and it would have been the same.
I think that I think that the person having powers and having to navigate high school would have been the same. I think that the way that the person interacts with their family and their
Right.
traditions are different, which makes them different. You
Which
can,
I agree with. I agree
yeah.
with that.
I
I
mean,
agree with that.
Miles
Yeah.
Morales is black. Peter Parker is white. They both got
Different
bitten by a
cultures.
radioactive spider. Are they the
Mhm.
same person? Not at all. And
Right.
it's not the same.
Mm. I see what you're saying, Ken. I just didn't enjoy it. I
And
wanted
that's
to.
okay. If you didn't enjoy it, that's fine. That's
I
totally
wanted
fine.
to,
Yeah.
but as I was watching it, I was like, okay, and then the whole and then the whole boyfriend. Come on, man. And listen, Ken, I hear what you're saying.
Teenage girls.
This is what teenagers are dealing with. I haven't
Yeah.
been a teenager for many a moon,
Mhm.
but I'm like, the tropes.
Yeah. I think these tropes
The
are tropes because these
tropes.
tropes are reflective of teenage life. Now, not everything gets teenage life correct because I think that um, there may be some truth to the way that Euphoria does things, but I do
Right.
think that it's a little exaggerated. But also, we're
That's
looking at
exaggerated
one
and
pocket.
more extreme.
We're looking at one pocket of teenagers. All the other teenagers in her high school could be Miss Marvel kind of things and rom-com kind of things. But we're focusing on people who are drug addicts and super worried about being popular and stuff like that. Teenagers
Right.
come in many shapes and sizes, but same thing. They all got to deal with class, all got to deal with family, all have to deal with the traditions of their culture if they are of a cultured community.
Right.
So yeah, I think that if you didn't enjoy Miss Marvel, totally fine. But I don't think we can just say that, oh, you can paint Miss Marvel with a white brush, an Irish brush,
I'm
and
just
African brush. It's all
because there
different.
were so many. The only reason I'm saying this is because
Mhm.
there were so many. The friend who becomes a boyfriend. I'm like, you could have made any culture do that. It's like
Yeah,
the same thing. I'm like, they
right.
just took all the tropes and put it in a Pakistani box. It could have been in a black box. It could have been
Mhm.
in a Irish box. It could have been in a Swedish box. And then they would have told the history of Sweden. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
it's the same vibe.
right. But the telling of the history of Sweden, I'm sorry, and the
Yes.
telling of the history of
Pakistan.
Pakistan,
Yeah.
Pakistan, and the situation that they went through. I forget the name of the specific event. Are
Yeah.
totally different. You would
It's
have
called
talked about
partition.
the troubles with the Irish. You would have talked about the partition with the Pakistani people. Like it's very different. You would have talked about the Trail of Tears
Well,
with
right,
Native
Native
Americans.
Americans. Exactly.
Right.
But here's the thing. That's
And
the
all of
only
them
thing
have
that's
trauma and all of them are very different.
right.
But
But
all of them experience that trauma.
to your point, Ken, I will say that that's the only thing that would make it different.
And that's a big deal. That's like saying that that's the only
But
thing would make a difference would be saying like the only thing that makes tikka masala different from fried chicken is the sauce. The sauce matters.
right. I hear what you're saying. When I was hit with too many tropes.
Mhm.
So I say all of that to say this, that those are the main reasons why I wasn't super excited about the Marvels. The only person I will say that I was excited for was
Photon?
Photon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because at the end of WandaVision, she gets her powers and all of it.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, now I want to see what happens with her.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
and I
excited,
think
man. I'm
right,
excited to see her.
this might be what
Yeah.
excuse me if there's any end credit scenes, but this might be the first time that we actually see her as Photon fully utilizing her powers.
Mhm.
We might get caught up on what she's doing. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, I'm excited about that as
A
well.
continuation of that. But yeah, we will. I'll watch this. I'm gonna watch
Mhm.
the
Oh,
Marvels
for sure. I
because
can't wait.
I'm not gonna just skip. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious to see what this does for the MCU moving forward.
Hmm.
And right. So that's what I have to say about that. So what we're gonna do, Ken, we're just gonna read a few more comments. People popped in and out, but always glad to have people here. And we're going to end the stream. And what I'm gonna do is highlight my dear friend Kenny Sparks, what he's up to, and let's
Oh,
get
hey.
it. So we had Mama Minutes saying how sweet and we're doing a great job. It's always good to
Thank you,
see
Mama
her.
Minutes. I appreciate you.
Katie,
Hey,
right?
Katie.
Popping the popcorn. I like to call her Pop. That's my little nickname for
Mhm.
her. And saying hello to us. We were joined by the
Hey, Clucky
Eclectic
Beard.
Beard.
What's up, dude?
Love seeing him. Go check out his channel. He has
Please.
too many videos that warrants watching.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah,
You
he's
need
got a
to
lot of
watch
dope
some of
stuff
these
on it.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave him quite a few views the other day. So um but he says that he's scrolling through to see what's good.
Mhm.
We're even joined by JER.
Hey, what's up,
Loki
man?
will recruit Mobius at the jet ski store.
I
Interesting.
think that's possible.
I think we're gonna see Mobius and a jet ski at some point.
Oh, we have
We
to.
have to.
We have to.
to.
And I think it's going to
Uh,
be this season. I don't think they're going to wait to the last episode
right.
of the last.
Exactly.
I think
Right.
if this gets to season 3, I think that they're still going to give us the jet ski this season.
I know. It's people are waiting for that.
Yeah, you can't make us wait 2 whole seasons.
Right. Well, so this has been a great hour,
Mhm.
just talking about a lot of different things of Loki, everything surrounding Loki, talking a little bit about the Jonathan Majors
Yeah.
updates on his trial, and even getting into some of the Marvels, as
Yep.
our likes,
Yeah.
our dislikes, and hopefully you guys had an enjoyable time with us. So what I'm going to do now is ask that you kindly, hit the subscribe button, not just for me, but also for Kenny Sparks, and check out his content. And speaking of content, I'm going to give him the floor to let you know what he's doing, updates on his channel.
Mhm.
Take it away.
All right, so my name is Kenny Sparks, as Jason just mentioned. I have a channel where I talk about movies and TV and just offer my opinion, but encourage you to form your own. I have a few series running right now. One is the Meet the Movie Tuber series, where I interview different movie tubers, people who talk about movies and television on their channels as well, and just put out that short interview online. Our next interview is actually going to be Katie from Popping the Popcorn. Can't wait to put that episode out. You guys hear about her journey and the things that inspire her and how she wants to inspire other YouTubers going forward who are coming up after us. It sounds like we're old, but we're not that old. We just got here ourselves. And I also have the Unseen Movie Marathon, which I review a movie, I watch for the first time and review a movie from every year between 1970 to present, which by the time it's over, it'll be 2024. Our next one is 1975's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I have to watch that movie, then review it. That should be out probably not next week, but the week after. And finally, I have my Killers of the Flower Moon review, which I'm editing as we speak. Well, maybe not as we speak, because right now I'm speaking here, but as soon as this is over, I'll continue to edit that and hopefully have it out this weekend. Actually, I will have it out this weekend for sure. So that's everything that's going on my channel, guys. Oh, one last thing. I put out a behind the scenes episode of one of my reviews, which was for The Exorcist Believer, just to show you guys what it looks like when a YouTuber's making a video. It can be very difficult. It can be a very trying situation, right? You stutter, you stop and start, and all this other stuff. So I want to demystify the making of these videos so that people can be encouraged to make videos themselves and not feel discouraged because they mess up. Because I did a 14-minute, I basically recorded for 14 minutes of stuttering and stopping and starting just to get a 5-minute video out of that. So my last video, The Killers of the Flower Moon, was, I want to say that thing was about 40 minutes. No, I'm sorry, 33 minutes. And I got it down to 17, and it's probably going to get chopped down even more than that because of stutters and different things like that. So I want you guys to understand that being a YouTuber is hard, but you got to turn straw into gold somehow. So, yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much, Jason, for having me on. And I can't wait to talk to you guys next time. Oh, sorry. Kenny Sparks live stream is tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I'll see you guys then.
All right, guys. Screens in here. Again, I want to thank everyone who commented, chimed in, even watched a few minutes of this live stream. We will be back with episode 5 Loki spoiler discussion next Thursday. Hopefully joined by more movie tubers, but even if not, come by and see what we have cooking. Currently on my page, those who are subscribed, you might have seen some trivia and shorts that I have been posting, seeing how that does. But more than not, I'm actually looking to jumpstart my Screens End Classics, which the first one up is going to be Little Giants. I'm hoping to finish writing the script. I'm hoping to get this out at least next week for you guys. And I'm creating a standard for myself. So it's taking a little bit, but I want to show scenes. I want to show you a breakdown of what I was thinking when I was watching this movie as a young Jason. But also I want to kind of put you all in the seat of me and how I experienced these classic movies growing up. So I think that it allows you into my life even more. And I'm always glad to show you who I am. And, so also, let me see what I'm doing. Yes. So that's about it. Kenny, thank you so much for joining. And guys, I'll see you in the next one.